Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Bye.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's kind of part of the problem that we had with our phone problem as well, where we have to raise the ball all the way up just to hear it. So, um,
Okay. I can get video from that station up, but did they remove the video box?
oh,
I don't see anything.
yeah, I don't see anything there, so it's not even connected to anything.
Yeah. Why would somebody do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. They didn't tell me.
So I'll just make sure. And whatnot. I hope everyone stays, but is Bo Hodge possibly playing running back? I'm intrigued to learn that. What's the pecking order of the running backs? Is that Katoa the main guy?
Where does Squally Canada fit into this?
Where does KJ Hall fit in? Where does Riley Burke fit in? There's a lot of questions. Who is playing quarterback? We know the group, but we don't know who's starting. Like who are the two guys that if you put Troy Warner, Daniel Wolku at safety are going to play quarterback? And it's this defensive line.
Play a
up
game of
there.
Catan or something.
Ready? We could do pong.
And then there's the clock across the hall.
Okay, well, we'd like to welcome everyone here to this meeting of the City of Orem Planning Commission this afternoon. We'll begin with an invocation, and I'll offer that invocation. Father in heaven, we're grateful this afternoon for this opportunity to have this Planning Commission meeting. We're grateful for this city. We love it, and we're grateful for those who serve it so well, for the staff and others. We pray that thou wilt bless us this afternoon as we consider important matters, that will be guided and inspired, that will recognize the challenges that we have as a city and that will be equal to those challenges. Please help us to make wise decisions and choices as we make recommendations and as we make decisions. We thank thee for thy goodness. Pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
And we'll remind everyone that the proceedings are broadcast on YouTube. And with that, we'll take item 3.1, please.
Item 3.1 is a plat amendment. The applicant requests the city approve the plat amendment for Plat E, the lakes at Sleepy Ridge, including the vacation of Lot 154, Plat B, the lakes at Sleepy Ridge Phase 1, located at 1999 West 475 South in the PD 15 zone. So here on the left, you have the zoning map. You can see the entire area is PD 15, with the exception of that little piece of vineyard that sticks in. Then over on the right, you can see the overhead. The property backs up onto the Sleepy Ridge Golf Course. So basically what they are requesting is that we shrink the size of their rear utility easement. It is currently 10 feet and they're requesting that it be narrowed down to 5. And we did receive letters from the utility companies all stating that they were okay with that change. So the Development Review Committee has determined that this request complies with the Orem City Code. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the plat amendment for Plat E, the lakes at Sleepy Ridge, including the vacation of Lot 154, Plat B, the lakes at Sleepy Ridge Phase 1, located at 1999 West, 475 South in the PD 15 zone.
Are there any questions for Ms. Haycock?
Yeah, is there any utilities right now going?
No.
No. Okay, so if it gets shrunk down to the 5 feet, does that mean no future utilities can go back there?
No, not necessarily. They
Okay.
just have less space to work with.
Okay.
Is there a PUE on the other side of the property line, on the golf course side?
That I am not sure of. But there are a lot of 5-foot PUEs throughout the city, and they don't seem to cause a problem.
Any other questions? Is the applicant present? Is there anything you'd like to add, or if you can, step to the microphone and then either place, just so, and give us your name, please.
Yeah, the utilities have agreed to vacate their easements. I believe there is still an easement in the front of the property, and this was one that went along the back side. And so I think that, of course, I don't know from my standpoint, I'm a pool contractor and I want to put in something, but I don't see any reason myself why that, the 5 foot, I think there's a zero lot line, or not zero lot line, but there's actually the easement. If there was no easement there, you could build right up to the property line, from what I was told. So everybody basically vacated the whole thing, I think, except for the power company. I think they wanted to maintain 5 feet, just in case, for some reason.
What was your name?
Bob Salvo.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Salvo? Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. and so we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and invite anyone who would like to speak to this subject to step to the microphone and state your name. And seeing no one coming to the microphone, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission for any further questions or a motion.
I can make a motion
Okay,
that we approve the plat amendment for Plat E, the lakes at Sleepy Ridge, including the vacation of Lot 154, Plat B, the lakes at Sleepy Ridge, Phase 1, located at 1999 West, 475 South in the PD-15 zone.
Mr. Iglesias has made a motion. Second.
I'll second the motion.
Jeffrey seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
When do you start? When will you start?
Oh, as soon as we are able to obtain the permit.
Okay. That's another department. That's a
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Item 3.2.
Item 3.2 is another plat amendment. The applicant requests the city approve the plat amendment of Park Avenue West University Place subdivision, amending Lot 6A of the University Mall subdivision, Plat A, Lot 6 amended, and amending Lots 11, 13, and 14 of the University Mall subdivision, Plat A, located at 625 East, 1150 South in the PD 34 zone. So once again, on the left, you have the overall zoning map, and then on the right, you have the aerial image. You may remember this from a few months ago when the Planning Commission approved the site plan for the U-Place Park Avenue West office building. And now the applicant has just come back to try and amend the plat so that they can start building. This is the proposed plat. The Development Review Committee has determined this request complies with the Orem City Code, so staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the plat amendment of Park Avenue West University Place subdivision, amending Lot 6A of the University Mall subdivision, Plat A, Lot 6 amended, and amending Lots 11, 13, and 14 of the University Mall subdivision, Plat A, located at 625 East, 1150 South in the PD 34 zone.
Are there any questions? I have one. Is this plat amendment, should that have been done before the site plan, or does it matter?
It doesn't really matter. They just can't build until they get both of those things
them
taken
done.
care of.
Okay. No questions? Is there anything you'd like to add?
I'm here mostly just to answer questions, but I do have a question for you guys.
Okay. You want to step to the microphone, please?
So Kathy Olson from Woodbury. Can you put the plat back up again? Lot 100 is the lot on which the office building is going to be built. And so this plat, I'm sure everybody wonders why our plats look like these, but financing a mixed-use project is really complex. And so right now, Lot 100 is platted the way the office lender would like it to be platted. But the retail lender is not so happy. And there's a possibility we might want to divide this lot into a building parcel and a parking parcel. And I'm wondering if that's something that you could approve tonight as a note if we need to come back, or if that's a lot line adjustment, or if we have to come back for another plat, depending on which lender wins.
That's a good question.
The people that would answer that.
I don't think we can.
Yeah.
answer that.
is that Sam's?
I think that would be a question for the attorney who is not here.
Steve's not.
All right, so let's just go with this plat then.
Yes,
We'll
well,
figure it out.
is Steve coming?
He may or may not be here later.
Okay.
Could we wait for him? Go to the next ones and come back?
I don't think he'll be back in time.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, you're in charge now, Sam. So.
Well, Sam, if I could just add, no, I don't think we could make a note to this plat that you may be able to do that. We'd have to see the plat and review it
Okay.
for you to be able to have that.
But you'd get to see us again, and that maybe that's a
I
benefit.
know, and that would be great.
Had
Yeah.
so many opportunities.
Do you already have an idea how you're gonna subdivide it, if you had to?
If we had to, we would basically subdivide right around the office building itself, so there would be a building parcel and a parking parcel.
Okay.
It ain't financing fun.
Especially on a mixed-use project. It's
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just go with what
Okay,
we have.
Yeah, I think that's what
Unless
we do.
you want us not to.
No, let's go
Okay.
with what we have.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Nope, that'll take it.
All right. Again, this is a public hearing, so we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Invite anyone who would like to speak to this subject to step to the microphone, please. And seeing no one here, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Well, not that we don't see anyone here.
They're all,
Seeing no one stepping to the microphone, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
all right.
Get back to the commission. Any further comments? Okay, let's go ahead and have a motion then.
I can make a motion.
Okay,
I will motion that we approve the plat amendment of Park Avenue West University Place subdivision, amending Lot 6A of the University Mall subdivision Plat A, Lot 6, amended, and amending Lots 11, 13, and 14 of the University Mall subdivision Plat A, located at 625 East, 1150 South in the PD 34 zone.
Mr. Moulton has made a motion. I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Simple.
Okay, item 3.3.
Item 3.3 was going to be a preliminary plat, but the applicant called me today and requested that we continue the item indefinitely, so that he can continue to work with the city and try to find an alternative to installing the cul-de-sac.
So we'll need a motion to continue the item, correct?
I'll make the motion.
You want to make that motion?
Yes. I make the motion that we continue indefinitely
Yeah.
the consideration of approval of the preliminary plat of Victoria Park, Plat F at 660 East, 700 North in the R8 zone.
Mr. Cochran's made a motion to continue this item. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Ms. Jeffrey seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Thank you. Okay, the remaining items are scheduled at 5 o'clock. Let's go ahead and take the minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes from the was it July 11th?
Yeah, 11th.
July 11th meeting? If not, are we okay? Okay. I'll move that we approve the minutes from July 11th, 2018 Planning Commission meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Moulton seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Can we just get an explanation again of the change that's happening with the minutes again? If you can kind of tell us what's happening. And that's going to be public? Yes. Okay.
So will things still be broadcast on YouTube then? Oh. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So stenography is gone? You're going to lose your job? Got it.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and take a break, I guess, until 5 o'clock.
Is it a break or a recess?
Recess is what you have in elementary school.
I was thinking, oh,
I don't know, what's the correct terminology?
I don't know. Adjourn? No.
Well,
not an
you can't
adjournment.
adjourn.
Can't adjourn.
Yeah.
No, you don't adjourn.
Take a break?
That's over.
If we were at court, it would be,
A recess.
Just say descanso.
okay.
Vamos a tomar un descanso.
Exactly.
Is it?
Perfect, like that.
So, you want to explain to them why we have to do the recess and we can't continue?
The restroom. I'll be right back.
Have to wait until 5 o'clock for these next discussions.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and reconvene from our break. We welcome those of you who have arrived since then. And we'll go ahead and take item 3.4, please.
Item 3.4 is a plat amendment. The applicant requests the city approve the preliminary plat of the Reza subdivision Plat A, located at 344 South, 1200 West in the R8 zone. So here on the left, you can see the zoning map. You can see that it is currently zoned R8 residential, and there is a little bit of HS regional commercial further up the street, but it is surrounded by R8. And then over on the right, you have the aerial view. You can see that I-15 borders the property to the west, and 1200 West borders the property to the east. Here's the proposed subdivision. Basically, he is just requesting to make a flag lot out of the back half of the property. In order to do so and meet all setbacks, the carport on the existing home will be taken down, but parking is being provided behind the home. The Development Review Committee has determined this request complies with the Orem City Code. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the preliminary plat of Reza Subdivision Plat A, located at 344 South, 1200 West in the R8 zone.
And both lots meet the zoning requirements because they're
Correct.
8,000 square feet. Okay.
8,000 in the front, 10,000 in the back.
Okay.
Are there any questions for Ms. Haycock?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, is the applicant present?
We are here, we're here to answer questions. Mr. Sonati is the applicant, so we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Dudley?
Do they have to pertain to the property in question?
Yeah.
Yes. No questions.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and invite anyone who would like to speak to this subject to step to the microphone, please. Seeing no one coming to the microphone, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission. Any further comments? Or we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move that the city, or that we approve the preliminary plat of the Reza subdivision Plat A, located at 344 South, 1200 West in the R8 zone.
Ms. Jeffries has made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Cockman seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 3.5.
Item 3.5 is a rezone request. The applicant requests the city amend section 2253A and the zoning map of Orem City by rezoning the property at 195 East, 1600 North from the R8 zone to the PRD zone and amending Appendix KK by adding Baxter Gardens. Once again, on the left, you have the zoning map. You can see it is almost entirely R8 with a little bit of PD24, which is still low-density residential. And then over on the right, you can see the aerial view. So here is what the applicant is proposing. It is 3 buildings with 2 sets of twin homes, or I'm sorry, 1 set of twin homes in each for a total of 6 units. And this is a density of about 4 units per acre. There will be a public street that leads to all of the units, and part of that public street is planned to be part of the neighboring property should it ever be developed. The applicant is also planning on having a small path to connect the neighborhood to the Northridge Park directly to the north of it. Here are the proposed elevations for the projects. And here is a copy of the neighborhood meeting notes. Those are also included in your staff report. So we've gone through and we have found that there is attached to your staff report, there should have been a copy of the legal documents stating that although this piece of property is owned by a trust, we did find the legal document stating that the applicant is legally sort of in charge of the trust. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council to amend section 2253A in the zoning map of Orem City by rezoning the property at 195 East, 1600 North from the R8 zone to the PRD zone and amending Appendix KK by adding Baxter Gardens. Be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay. Is the applicant present? Is there anything you'd like to add or say? Are there any questions from the commission?
She needs to know. There's a lady that's never mind.
In a minute. We haven't opened the public hearing yet, but we're going to do that right now. So we'll go ahead, since there are no other questions from the commission. This is a public hearing. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing and invite any of you that would like to make a comment to come to the microphone here. We'd ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And those of you who came in later, this is being broadcast on YouTube, so and recorded. But if you'd like to come now and step to the microphone and make your comment, we would appreciate hearing that.
And please state your name
Yes,
before making
please
your
state
comment.
Thank you.
My name is Gloria Gowans. Our property is just west of the Baxter home. My brother-in-law is exactly right next to him, Floyd Gowans. Then we have a little white house and then our log house. We would like to know if we need to worry about in the future with that zoning that they might possibly take our homes.
They can't.
We appreciate that question. We're going to make a list of the questions and then we'll respond to that a little bit later, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Ready for someone else?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Jared Wilkes. My lot is 50 feet from the parcel that's in question. So I just have a few questions that I want considered by the applicants. I'm going to run through this really quick and I'll probably use the full 3 minutes. And then I'll give you copies of my concerns, okay? First, I wanted to make sure that the neighborhood meeting was represented correctly. I noted that they stated that the neighbors commented that this was positive. I don't believe that the neighbors actually felt that this was a full neighborhood meeting. It was repeated that they would probably have to hold the meeting again because they had not properly sent out notices. So I don't believe that the neighbors felt that this was the final neighborhood meeting. Second, with the zoning changes, what assurances do the current homeowners receive that the proposed twin homes are built to a standard that is similar to the existing neighborhood? What assurances do existing homeowners receive that the new property will be perpetually governed by an HOA, keeping it up to standards that they have proposed? Let's see. To encourage stability in the new development, many of us are interested in having covenants in place for owner-occupied only. Next one, what assurances do current homeowners receive that the zoning change will not allow anything but the proposed twin homes with the limited density? Also, would a sale to a different developer create a risk that they could develop the property different from what was proposed? I'm concerned about the development, construction, and financing experience and access that the current land owners have. And the concern there is that the property should be developed responsibly, timely, and completely. We don't want an eyesore left, let's say, if financing runs out. Okay. We believe it is also common for developers to contribute to the community as well. Often when you have a large development, there's a park that might be developed. I believe North Ridge Park itself was developed that way. Many of us believe that the landowners did not, well, we know they didn't earn the property, it was inherited. So it would be good to have the landowners make an investment up front in the community to give them some skin in the game like the rest of us who own property there. So we're proposing that landowners contribute something like additions to the sports facilities in Northridge Park, pickleball courts, something along those lines. And then the rest is around security, keep the existing fence line. So I think we're good there. I'll give you a copy of this.
Sure. Yeah, I'll send it.
I wasn't sure how many, but that should do it there. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Martin Wright, and my backyard is basically to the backyard of that property. I'm the second house in off of 1600. I just wanted to go back to what the zoning commission did back in March of 2017 for our neighborhood. I went and pulled this up, and it says land use preserves the single-family nature of the neighborhoods through similar low-density residential development and infill. I went on further new development. It says careful steps should be taken to ensure preservation of existing single-family nature neighborhoods. Denser single-family projects are well planned, such as can be considered and just for growth. My biggest concern too is for the person who couldn't be here, Floyd Gowans. His property's right there on the left-hand side where the entrance of that road is. They're gonna have to tear out all the trees that are currently there, and he's gonna have open access to his property. There's no fence planned for him for privacy. It just completely opens him, his whole side of his property is gonna be open, wide open, with him having to now put in a fence, not being provided by the developers. I'm also worried about the wall to the right of the property, which abuts my wall. That's a 10-foot high wall. In some places it's deteriorating. What are they gonna do about that? You know, do they have that in their master plan to take care of that part of the property? Or are we stuck with fixing our own, the fence that currently exists there?
Thank you.
There's somebody that wants to make a comment. You need to just come up to the microphone.
Chairman, my name is Julene Henchen. We're property owners at 30 East 1700 North in Orem, and we moved here in 1979. It appealed to us that the zoning was for single-family dwellings, and that's what we love about our Northridge area. I've been 40 years there at that house, and it's paid for, and we're looking forward to the future. All of our children have been to the Northridge Elementary School, and this quadrant has no multi-family dwellings that I'm aware of, and we just can't want any here. I'm highly opposed to the zone change. I want to keep this Northridge area as it is and not change the zone. I fear what would be in our future if we are allowing multiple units in. Also, as I see the layout here, they've reduced to twin homes from the picture that you send us. Traffic problem coming out on 1600 North. As we come out of 30 East by the canal fence there, visibility is really hard looking out before you pull out on 1600 North. We've talked about a traffic light there. There have been accidents further down on 1600 North. There was a fatality of a boy just right close there to my house. I'm highly opposed to the zone change. I want to tell you that I will fight for a single family dwelling on this land. I don't want it to bother the Gowans, our friends that are very, very close to this. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nancy Jeffries. I live adjacent to Jolene's property. I've been out there 39 years. And I'll say amen to everything Jolene said. In addition to that, it's my understanding, I thought that there was going to be 4 twin homes. It looks like there's 6 possibly at the present. And the way they're going to arrange the streets and a sidewalk on one side and not on the other, it says to me that the developer has in mind to maybe take over the Gowans property if they were willing to sell. This feels to me like a camel wanting his nose in the tent and moving westward as they can. Like I say, I'm totally against it, and that this expanding into single-family dwellings becoming something very much other than that. I knew the little boy who was hit on the corner of Main Street at a stoplight and killed as he proceeded across the street. And that same little boy, a couple years previously when he was younger, was hit also, but not killed. So there's more and more traffic out there, the more people you have living out there. I don't know if you think that older people will come and buy those twin homes or whatever, but let's keep that down by the front runner station where people, a lot of work people and that type of thing is going on where they need public transportation and that type of thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Echo Baxter Hall. I am a beneficiary of the trust and the trust property that's being discussed. From what I understand, the applicant, Cindy Cox, is not the only applicant on this proposal. I have a brother, my oldest brother is Tim Baxter. He lives in Kentucky. The way the property was left was it was to be sold and divided. It does not say anywhere in our father's trust that it was to go this direction. Not everyone in the trust as a beneficiary agrees with this. I had asked if I could purchase the home, which was the home I grew up in. I was refused, but they're telling me that they're going to demolish the home to put these twin homes in. From the legal advice that I've received, it's illegal. That's what I also wanted to know, there is a developer that she's involved with called the Right Group. I don't know who they are. And the trust money would pay for this development. So I'm very opposed, and I'm very confused, and I'm very saddened because this is not what our father wanted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Robert Farr, and I just live around the corner on 210 East. I'm going to jump around a little bit as I hear people talk. It brings up thoughts, but I speak for myself, but almost everyone I talk to in that area of Orem or that lives in Orem, one of the biggest concerns we have as Orem residents is the amount of high-density housing that's happening in our city, especially in places that are residential areas or down State Street, as opposed to putting these high-density housing in area where there's better flow of traffic rather than congest Orem more. So I'm going to talk first about street width. I picked up a higher detailed plan, but there's no street width called out, but it looks about a 2/3 of the size or width of 210 East. And when I talked to the Planning Commission, they said right now there's no plans to put in a sidewalk on the east side, but they thought it would be equitable for the next developer to pay for the sidewalk on the east side. So right off the bat, we're going to start with a not fully developed street as well as a narrow street. Going along with the street width, right now it takes quite a bit of time to turn out of 210 East onto 1600 North, whether you're heading east or west. And to have another street just 300 feet away, estimating from the drawing, is going to add a real heightened concern for safety, because I think we all recognize as Orem's getting higher density traffic, we are all taking more chances and shooting out when there's a gap, because we don't know when the next gap is going to be. And so having people exit off this 190 East and heading east as people are going off 210 East, whether they're going west or east, will increase the probability of potential accidents. Another point is, and one that Gloria Gowan's already brought up, is they're already illustrating, even though they can't condemn the property and take it over, but in the plat they're already illustrating other homes. To me, I don't see 6 units, I see 12 families, because there's so many people are finishing their basements and letting their kids or their grandkids or whoever it might be. Oh, Martin said I could have the other minute and a half he didn't use.
Well, you can't.
Oh.
You only get your.
I'll talk to him.
Sorry, I forgot to say that. You cannot give your time to anyone else.
Oh, okay. From now on. So I see the potential of 12 families living there, not 6. And with those 12 families, that could represent, to me, if an average family has 2 cars, there's 24 cars. And with a narrow street, and then with people out having to park on 1600 North, we've got a parking issue as well, because even from the illustrations, it was not very wide. So I think we need to think about this hard, as though people on this commission live there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a half an acre.
Could you give us your name, please?
Fred Gowans.
Okay.
I have a half an acre, which is 133 on 1600.
Okay.
Okay? Next to it is 145. I own that. Okay? The next one over is a home that my father lived since 1968. He has now passed away, and some of his family are living there now. So what I'm saying is that on 1600 North, there's 135, 145, and 156 that are all owned by us. Then behind 145 and 156, we own all the way to the back, which takes up about 2.5 acres. Now, my dad moved there in '68. I moved there in the middle '70s. Since that time, and don't ask me how and why they did it, they came and told me that eminent domain was going to take place, and they were going to take away 6 acres, 6.5 acres farther north, And I said, well, you can't do that. I said, we're doing all kinds of things with it. We've got a lot of things that we're selling on it and things. And they said, that's too bad. It's eminent domain and we're going to take on it. And I said, well, if we're going to do that, I'll probably have to end up going on July or sometime to try to stop it. And they said, go ahead and do it. Doesn't make any difference because it's not going to happen. We are willing to pay for it, but you do what you have to do. Well, I talked to my dad about it. My dad told me, he said, let's not argue the point. Let's do what has to be done. And we did it. We now have about 2.5 acres. They took about 6.5 acres. The other thing is that if you look at this up here, you can see in where the 190 is going up there, and it circles around, and it's already sticking over on our property. And then on the other side of it, there's 2 different places that are doing it. Or in other words, I've got 2.5 acres out there where I have all my horses, and they're in the process of wanting to take them down. And I don't think that's right. In fact, I think that's horrible. At one time, we had 8, 9 horses. And we had all of that room. Now, we've got about 2.5 acres. I've only got 2 horses now. That's all I can handle. So, that's how I feel about it. And I feel very, very bad that anybody else to the east of us are going through what they're going through. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Sean Baxter. I'm part of this trust. I'm a beneficiary in this trust. The only way I ever found out about this meeting was there was a sign posted in front of this property. The trustees have told me nothing about any of this Baxter Gardens. And I wish the committee would take in consideration some of the legal things in this trust before you can continue to rezone or whatever you're going to do. But our family has some problems with this rezoning thing. And I appreciate the committee to relook at everything in the trust before you even move ahead with any rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay, then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. There are a number of questions. Probably the first thing that we ought to address is the issue of encroachment onto the Baxter's property, or not the Baxter's, the Gowan's property, excuse me. Do one of the staff want to address that, please?
Yeah, I can address it. And I also wanted to remind everybody today that we are not coming to an official decision tonight. The Planning Commission just makes a recommendation to the City Council. So there will not be an official decision tonight, one way or the other. But the reason that we are considering the rezoning of the Baxter property is because the applicant is requesting the rezone. If the Gowans or if anybody else does not request the rezone, the property will not be rezoned.
Their property.
Their property.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
There's no eminent involved in
yeah. I'm not sure what the eminent domain was for. I don't know if it was for the park or what.
Oh.
But this development is all being done through a private developer. Private developer cannot eminent domain anything. And generally speaking, if the Gowans or somebody else wanted to sell their property, that would be a private matter that the city would not be involved with. So the city is not going to force you to rezone your property.
Okay, what about the cul-de-sac at the end, how it goes into the Gowans' property? Can they actually do that then if he decides?
No.
So none of this can happen without,
Correct.
was it Brett? I think it was, yeah, his, agreement or sell or whatever he wants.
Correct. So everything that's shown on the Gowan property isn't something that's going to happen if this rezone is approved. Part of the process of turning in a site plan like this is we just want an idea of how adjoining properties could develop. And that's all this is. This is just a suggestion. So even if he does decide that he wants to sell and he wants to develop everything, he is in no way required for the development to look like what is shown in this picture.
This is just conceptual. And
Correct.
dotted lines indicate that it's a future thing, not an imminent rather than eminent, but an imminent thing at all.
Yeah, he's not gonna wake up one day and there's, half a cul-de-sac in his property. It's
Or this
not something he needs to worry about.
or this dotted twin home that conceptually was put in there.
Correct.
Yeah.
There was a comment about trees. In the conceptual drawing here, are there trees being removed?
That I am not sure. If the trees are on the Baxter's property, they have the right to remove them. But if they're not, then they do not have the right to remove them.
Remove them from anybody else's property.
No.
Correct.
The same would be true of a fence. If there's
Correct.
a fence there, they cannot remove a fence that's not on their property.
Yeah, if the fence that's on the property line on the east side of the Baxter property, it would have to be determined.
It would need to be determined whose property it was, and then whoever's property it was would be in charge of whether or not it stayed and whether or not it was maintained correctly.
Okay.
Okay, one question was regarding the neighborhood meeting. Was that correctly noticed? And I don't know what the requirements are from the city for those.
Yeah, it
So-
shows
It shows
everyone
that
that it,
notices went out. Now, the question was, did
That's
it get sent out at the right time, or?
So there were two that were sent out. The first one that was sent out was incorrect, and that is because all it had was the neighborhood location, or the meeting date and time. It didn't have any kind of contact information. And so when we got the notice, we told them that they needed to notice it again, and they didn't have enough time to do it at the original date, and so they needed to send out a second notice for the second date, and these meetings are from that second date. Now, city does not attend the neighborhood meetings, so I'm not sure what was told to the attendees. If they were told there would be a second meeting or not, I don't know.
But there was sufficient notification,
Yes,
and the time was identified.
yes.
Okay.
And they were also instructed to give out a phone number and or an email so that if anybody could not attend the meeting, they would have another way to ask questions or contact the applicant.
Okay.
Okay.
There was only one meeting. There was never a second meeting or anything sent out for a second meeting. The second meeting.
correct, and that's the one with the corrected information on it on the second meeting, but there were,
The first one was not correct because it wasn't.
right.
So they never had a first meeting, so this is the.
Correct.
But there were two notifications that were sent out, as well as notifications posted, which is required
The posting is not required for a neighborhood meeting, but it is required for this meeting.
for the.
And that is posted out there.
Can't do anything about that.
Well, but we can't control that.
Yeah.
If someone's out of town, then they're out of town.
Oh.
Sure.
Like our schedule for this meeting tonight? That's in the book.
Okay.
The density needs to be addressed, I think, because several times it's been mentioned high density.
Yes.
So the city considers PRD a low to medium density, very similar to the R8 zone that's already there. And in fact, the PRD site plan that they're showing is about 4 units per acre, which is very similar to the R8 zone that's already there. The houses are just a little more attached to each other rather than sort of equally spread out.
One of the questions on the paper you've got up here now, the document you got up was Oh, no, I can't even see it. But, oh, down towards the bottom of the first page, does the zoning allow you to put a limit on owner occupied only? And then there's age restrictions also. But that's not something that can be governed, right?
No, that's not something
the
that the city
developer
has any
and-
control over. That's something that an HOA would be in charge of.
Right.
But we can't enforce an HOA.
Right.
That's
Correct.
not our.
Require one.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's, a proposal has been brought before this commission, and we have to act on that proposal. If there's legal standing or a question of legal standing, then that's something that would have to be addressed through a court or some other venue besides this.
I was given legal documentation to show that Ms. Cox was sort of in charge of the trust, and I did show that to our attorney, who I was hoping would be here. And he told me that it was legally binding. But again, since he's not here, he can't confirm or deny that.
And so the recourse, if there's a question about the trust, then that's a legal issue that needs to be addressed. That's not a part of this proceeding.
And when this goes to city council for final vote, the city attorney will be there.
Okay.
street width and sidewalks?
Yes. Paul, can you address that?
So the
Christina,
street width
you go
is,
back to
And while you're at it, the traffic as well.
If you can zoom in, yeah, that 32-foot sublocal street cross-section, what that is 28 feet of asphalt with a 2-foot curb and gutter on each side of the road. So from the back of curb to back of curb on each side of the road is 32 feet, with the sidewalks being separated from the street so that there's a little more pedestrian safety and it feels a little more comfortable to walk on the sidewalk. So there's there'd be an 8-foot planter strip where you can put grass and trees and that kind of landscaping in there. Again, the dashed line that is conceptually shown on the Gowan property, if you zoom into, you can kind of see it says possible future development. So that's not a requirement. That's just something that the street could be built, the cul-de-sac could be partially built, most of it on the Baxter property, and it could last like that for 100 years or more until Mr. Gowan or his heirs decide that, okay, maybe they want to either do the same type of zoning or they just want to put one house back there. And so, or they could just leave it exactly the way it is forever. But one of the things we're trying to do is to make sure, one of the things we're concerned about too is the safety on 1600 North. And the more accesses you have on 1600 North, the more friction you have. And the more homes that face the street and you're backing onto 1600 North, that's why we thought that it would be a good concept to have a public street come in here so that people could come into whatever homes, whatever zoning happens at this location, come into their homes, be able to pull into their homes, and then be able to pull onto 1600 North at a location where there is good sight distance, where, again, the 6 homes that are there, the average traffic that would be projected by 6 homes is basically 10 vehicles coming in and out of the home per day. So that would be 5 going out, 5 coming in, for a total of 6, that's 60. Okay. So coming in and out of that intersection for a 24-hour period, there would be approximately 30 vehicles coming out and 30 vehicles coming out, going in during the day. There is a proposal also to connect to Northridge Park, just a sidewalk connection, not a vehicle connection. We could have a parking by permit program only so that people who want to drive to the Northridge Park can't park in the cul-de-sac or on the road. It could be just for residents who live on that road, but the sidewalk would be for the public use to be able to go to Northridge Park to enjoy whatever amenities are there including possibly a future pickleball court or whatever else our Parks Department decides would be a good amenity at the park. Hopefully that covers the street and some of the 1600 North questions. If you compare basically this proposed street to the next street to the east, this one would have traffic on it that would be kind of very minuscule in proportion to the amount of traffic that's on the street to the east.
It's 210 East, I believe.
So I'm kind of neutral on what kind of zoning happens there, but you know, we do like to plan our streets so that they are safe, so that they're reasonable, and that they provide access to people when they do want to subdivide their property.
Okay. Yeah.
But this,
We're
this
talking
development, we're talking 6 homes,
Yeah.
and that's not going to significantly change the amount of traffic on that street.
One of the things, just seeing this, I'm concerned again on the street width, because if you had 2 cars parked that are taking, an 8-foot car would take 9 feet, and cars parked across 18 feet. Is there room for a fire truck or an ambulance to go between 2 cars on a 28-foot road? And I know that's between the curbs, but people don't park right
6 feet.
on the curb. And then the second thing, you get a truck or a vehicle, and you have, and I'm gonna assume there's gonna be 1.5 families in there, just because there is so many places else in that area, that you will have so many cars parked in that because of the small driveways, that I don't think a fire truck would even turn radius in there if they had to come in and out to support an ambulance. And so I think safety, you got.
Yeah, our fire marshal has looked at the plan. In fact, this is a type of street that we approve on any subdivision that has a projected traffic volume of 600 vehicles a day or less. In fact, there's a subdivision that was recently approved down in I think it's called the Farm.
Yeah.
It has a lot more property than this. I live on a street, I live right next to a street that has 28 feet of asphalt width. On a short cul-de-sac like this, 28 feet is an ample asphalt width. Transportation engineer in Sandy City for several years. Our minimum asphalt width on streets was actually 27 feet. 1 foot less than what this is proposed.
So if there's cars parked on both sides, can opposing traffic pass each other on that street?
It depends on the size of the vehicle, but if you have larger,
Just assume a normal vehicle that's
Yes.
7.5 feet wide, 8 feet. If there's 2 cars at 16 feet, that leaves 12 feet. I think that would allow 2 motorcycles to pass, but no way
Two vehicles don't have to pass each other, though.
2 vehicles don't have to pass each other on a street like this. But
I hear.
This is an approved city street width for, as has been stated, for.
If I lived on 210 East, we've lived out in the area for 38 years. When there's cars parked on both sides of 210 East, and there's barely room for 2 cars to pass, and what's the width of 210 East versus this? And that's my reference point of what I see every day, of how many cars are both parked on each side of 210 East, and the time you have to wait, just to be cautious for opposing cars to pass.
Well, and personally, I think that's a good thing in a residential neighborhood for people to be cautious and to proceed slowly, because if you build streets too wide,
It encourages speed.
then the traffic speeds increase, and so it's one of those things where you have to find the correct balance. Again, this is an approved city street.
Yeah, and the road is not very long. There's not going to be any
Very
velocity
short road.
gained. But the concern is noted. I mean,
Carl, can I suggest that if you would like to open the public hearing again, that you open it and ask people to stand for the benefit of the recording and the people that are watching online? Thank you.
I'm not sure there's a need. We're rehashing the same things over and over, and so I'm not sure there's a need to open the public hearing again. And so we'll, the only other question that I see here is the question of providing a public amenity as a courtesy to the community.
Can I speak to that, Carl?
Yes, please.
We recently passed impact fee requirements for all new development. That wasn't something we did in all areas of Orem previously, but this year the council has adopted that. And so new development that comes in, like these homes, will pay a certain amount for several different impact fees like water. And one of those impact fees is a parks impact fee that they have to pay in. It's I can't remember, I don't know exactly what the figures are, somewhere between 500 and a few thousand for each unit that goes to buying park property and amenities in the future that are for the city. So there will be several thousand dollars per unit for each of these for impact fees that pay to things just like he's saying, so that existing residents aren't bearing the burden of new development.
Thank you.
And that is just for those who live in that development. That doesn't increase the impact fees for all the other residents.
Impact fees just occur when somebody builds something new. So existing residents don't pay impact fees, only for new construction.
Well, that addresses that.
It's not just here, it's citywide.
Yes.
So anyone who's going to build in the city is going to have to pay those fees.
Okay.
Mr. Cochran.
Yeah, there's an issue. You know, we're all pretty involved, those of us that are on the commission, and it's voluntary for us. A lot of us are involved in other things too, but one of the reasons that I personally got involved is that I began to read the information that Orem City sent to me in the mail. And when I read that, it said, we're going to have a meeting concerning transportation. And there's first it was 2040, then it was a 2050 plan. So I've attended probably every one of the meetings that Orem City has sent a mailer out concerning. Also, whenever there's any new development, personally, I attend that, whether I'm a member of the Planning Commission or not. Gotten involved. My children got involved, and they said, Dad, you need to look at this, you need to look at this. You know, transportation is huge, and this has been brought up by several of you. Transportation is huge. If something is not done, figure about 11 times the amount of traffic we have right now. If something's not done, 1600 North is a collector road. It gathers from all the other roads and brings it down into State Street, or 800 North. And 1600 North take you out to the freeway. It's a major thing. You need to be more involved than when something happens in your neighborhood. If something is happening in the city or in the state, even, get involved. Because there are some brilliant planning that has gone on. And I'm not saying from the Planning Commission, that's a different thing entirely, but some long-range planning. After most of us are dead, it will impact our children and grandchildren, which is what we're looking at right now. So be involved in that. Now, this is in compliance with current zoning. With the current applicable laws. It does almost meets the R8, which is where most of us live right now. The R8 zone is an 8,000 square foot lot, by the way. R6 would be something else. R12, and get on the city website. Be involved with Orem City, orem.org, because all of this stuff is on there too. All of the long-range planning, all the current planning, the vision, our different core districts. It's exciting to live in Orem, to see what the future holds for our children and grandchildren. It's exciting. Anyway, that's what I want to say. Get involved, other than when it happens to get in your neighborhood.
Okay.
I'm torn. I'm I'm an old Wyoming kid that believes in property rights and the right of owners to develop their property the way that they see fit. I don't see this as high density because it's taking up about the same amount of property as 6 houses in its neighborhood. But I'm also bothered by the fact that everything is negative. And that that's what I'm trying to weigh in my head, is the fact that pretty much everything that's come up today has been negative. So I'm still thinking.
Yeah. And well, go ahead, boss.
Any other thoughts or comments?
Are we really confident that everything is legal? You know, that those that are making the proposal can make exactly the proposal that they...
According to the documentation that we have received, and it's here.
And it's been validated by our city attorney.
By the city attorney.
Steve
The proposal.
Farrell looked at it. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, there's just a comment about, and this is illegal, and I wanted that.
Yeah, no, completely
Yeah.
understandable.
Mhm. I know.
And I made it because it's, the property's in a trust. And so that was legal advice that I received. So that's kind of a big word to use. It's so I didn't mean to misuse that word. But from it being in the trust and the legalities within the trust, that's where the word come up.
When is this item scheduled before the city council, or is it?
Next time.
It will be August 28th, I believe.
So regardless of the result of this recommendation that we make today, the real decision is made on the 28th, and in that period of time, you'd have an opportunity to take other action to contest that.
It's tough for us, well, it's tough for me to see the family not in harmony, I guess, and that's for me. Because I have 5 brothers and a sister, and I have a 95-year-old mother who has a rather large estate, of which I'm the executor. And right now, we all get along really well. And, certain things have been outlined, and it's all in trust, too. To see that these types of things don't come up when my mother passes, but there's no guarantee, as you know. But I'd just rather see the family together.
Well, we've got the document.
We do.
It's been approved, and it says on there, Tim D. Baxter and Cindy B. Cox were duly appointed and qualified as general co-personnel representatives of the estate of above named descendant by the court with all authority pertaining thereto. Administration of the estate is unsupervised. So, if there is a problem there, then let's go ahead and get the legal action that needs to happen, contest it, and figure it out before the city council. And the city council is going to be very sensitive to that when it gets to that. So, I think the matter right now is just we just have to decide on if
the development is appropriate.
Yes.
Yes.
I think Mr. Dudley had something to add about the legal.
Okay.
Okay. Sure, please.
That'd be good.
I'm Roger Dudley. I'm the engineer that developed this plan for the Cox group, and maybe out of line a little bit. Let me tell you a few thoughts. If the Baxter and/or the Goen property is to ever be developed, there will need to be a street developed into these properties, either into one or the other, or to the 2 of them combined. The thought was, and maybe the Goens, as they've stated, are not ready to do anything, and that's understandable, and they may not be in this foreseeable future, but for these 2 properties to ever be developed in any form, there would need to be a street that stubbed into this, and it would have to be a cul-de-sac. There is no other way to develop the property. This particular plan allows the Cox or Baxter family to develop it in some form. If it were to be single-family lots, there would still need to be a cul-de-sac here. The street is a sublocal street, which is the one that's suggested by the city staff. It's narrow on purpose, as was expressed by the engineer. We just feel that because of the location of the existing homes, if these two properties are ever to be developed, either as twin homes, as suggested, or as single-family homes, there would have to be a cul-de-sac very similar to this. If not on the Baxter property, then it would have to be on the Goen property. So that's the reason that it was developed in this manner. I would suggest that maybe more communication be had between the Baxters and the Goens so that they could be compatible. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but the Baxter family is ready to do something with their property. The Goens may not be. This is a way that both could happen. We would not touch the Goen property with this development. It would not affect their property in any form other than having a street next to them, which is not there now. There would be no fences taken down. There would be no trees on their property removed. And so we're not affecting the Goen property by this development. I'm happy to answer any further questions that the commission might have. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Anyone ready to make a motion?
There we go.
This is a recommendation to the city council.
I can make a motion. Let's see here. That we send a positive recommendation to amend section 22-5-3A and the zoning map of the Orem City by rezoning the property on 195 East, 1600 North from the R8 zone, the PRD zone, and amending Appendix KK by adding Baxter Gardens.
Mr. Iglesias has made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Cochran seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
So as Mr. Moulton was opposed. So the motion passes. Now, let me say again that the decision is really made at the city council. And I would encourage you to be aware of when that is. If it will be on the 28th, that you come and express your feelings to the real decision makers. And hopefully that gives the family an opportunity to address the issues that you have. So
It will be on the Orem City website as far as what's going to be.
yes, the agenda is posted on the city website, and I'm guessing that notices will be sent out to everyone again.
That's correct. Everybody within 1,000 feet of this property should get another little postcard in the mail. And within the next couple days, the posting on the property itself will be updated.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kelly, do you have any thoughts this evening? Anything to share?
No thoughts from me.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn and then.
I move that we adjourn.
Ms. Jeffries moves to adjourn. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You got me in Spanish mode.